Yeah, I'd like to talk a little bit about something that I find very interesting and funny and confusing and yeah, really funny, but also completely silly and stupid. And so I'm going to be quite critical about something, about a new project, so to speak, of a biologist from Australia called Jeremy Griffith, who has done together with a person called Gray Conway an interview which is called The Interview, the most important interview of all time. And it's the interview that solves the human condition and saves the world. And so this is something that comes out, it seems, from something called the World Transformation Movement. And it's just completely astonishing because it's nothing, it's absolutely nothing. Biologist Jeremy Griffith has understood something that many scientists have understood for, let's say, 200 years. That in the human species, or in the human being, in man, in us as human beings, there is a duality between our loving instincts and with our learned aggressive behavior that we have learned in order to survive. That which we learned to be and do in order to survive in this world. So that there is a drive towards love and unselfishness and altruism in us, which of course is true. And there's also a destructive drive, a competitive drive, an aggressive drive, something that has to do with our need for survival. And biologist Jeremy Griffith says that, well, these finer instincts are actually genetically based. They come from our genes. And there's a species of monkeys called the bonobos that we seem to have gotten this from. The altruistic, loving, Garden of Eden attitude and heart, which we have. And it's nice to see that he has understood that we have that. I mean, welcome aboard. I mean, it's good to have understood that. And the contrasting thing, or the counterpoint, is our learned neurological knowledge. I mean, the knowledge that we have ingrained in ourselves neurologically through thousands of years about how we have to survive in nature, in a dangerous nature, in an environment full of danger, and with in an unpredictable environment. And this is something that everyone knows. I mean, even in the Middle Ages, people knew about this. I mean, this is this is ABC for people who had some insight into themselves, into the human psyche, into the human being as a whole. So this is an ABC. But the funny thing is that they call this interview, and the small little helpless, in a way, concept that biologist Jeremy Griffith comes with as the interview, the insight that can save the world and save the human condition and give completely rehabilitation to the human psyche, to that which can give us peace of mind, and we can come to terms with our situation, and because we understand this duality. It's because I am like this, I'm created like this. My genes are good, but my learned behavior are bad, or something like that, So, well, Yeah, but it doesn't change anything. My whole point in this little talk about this is that I want to say only this sentence. It doesn't change anything. And the thing that is astonishing for me and actually quite confusing is that these people don't understand that it doesn't change anything. Well, so what? We all know that it's not the problem of mankind. The problem of mankind is the connection to consciousness and the programs that are developed in our brain, that are culturally and individually produced in our neurocircuitry, our way of thinking. And we have to address how the human being has become in the last 200 years if we want to solve the problems of the world. And they also said that, well, we even have the science of psychiatry behind this, because Professor Harry Prosen, former president of the Canadian Psychiatric Association, claims that this is the most important interview of all time. Well, I would say the same thing about Professor Harry Prosen. He hasn't done anything. He has not presented anything to this world of paradigm-shifting insights. He is the same as 90% of all scientists or professors in this world. They're just a repetition of old paradigms, and they're making some decoration, some embroidery on paradigms that are already in place. So there are embroiders, they are people who are stitching, they are old sewing ladies, they are embroidery ladies, they are embroidering a little bit on already established paradigms and concepts and narratives. They're just modifying the narrative a little bit here and there, because finally some sense got into their brains, a little bit of talent got into their brain cells one day, so they were able to modify something, or they read a more enlightened person or something like that. But my point is this. Well, I would be super happy if Jeremy Griffith was a substantial scientist. I have not seen anything that he says which is news. This is old news. There's nothing new about this, and it won't change anything. The fact that it's old news it's all right, no problem about that. But the fact that it doesn't change anything, why do they believe that this changes something? Do you have to be Canadian or Australian to believe that? Craig Conway, who was doing this astonishing interview with Jeremy Griffith, is, we can read, acclaimed British actor and broadcaster Craig Conway. And he says that, well, if you hear my voice now, let go of everything else, because this interview is going to save your life. It's going to transform your life. It's going to transform all of humanity if we could just understand this. Why don't you grow up? There's a substantial scientific and spiritual and psychiatric and psychological and biological research into this for hundreds of years. And we have a lot of knowledge about this. There's nothing new about this. If it doesn't have to be new in order to be transformational. I'm not saying that. It doesn't have to be new. It's very nice that you find an old insight that you think can change the world. Wonderful. Good for you. And please make a diploma, print it yourself, and hang it around your neck or wherever you want it. But it's not going to change anything. The thing that we have to address is the continuation of consciousness as an experience, and what that means to cognition, what that means to how we repeat already downloaded, so to speak, perspectives or ways of thinking. We are believing in language games. We are believing in the validity of thought and language. Why do we believe in the validity of thought and language? The human brain is a belief machine, the human brain is a belief machine. We are constantly believing in something. It's not even only the brain, it's our essence, it's our being. We are believers, we believe in something. If we believe in God, we believe in God. If we don't believe in God, then we believe in not believing in God. If we believe in this, then it's like that. If we believe in another thing, then it's like that. And if we believe that the interview will transform the human race, well, congratulations. Then you're just joined the club of someone who's really not too clever. This is not penetrating insights. This is not paradigm shifting stuff. It's not going to transform anything. It's just going to give people a little bit more of insight. Wow, I have this duality inside me between the good and the bad, between love and opportunistic, more aggressive behavior. One part of me may come from the genes, the loving altruistic thing. The competitive, opportunistic, aggressive thing, which also, as Jeremy Griffith says, leads to psychosis, because that's very true. We, the human species, live in psychosis, and we have not addressed that issue. I mean, the whole culture, the whole civilization now in the 21st century is a stupid game, and that game, the fact that we accept that game is because we're living in a already learned psychosis. We're living in a way of seeing. We're living in a way of seeing and accepting the world, which is just the way of being. We have learned to accept the way that we are in this century, which of course is a disease in itself, because we should never accept that. We should never accept what we have become. We should never accept that which we have done to the world and with the world. The thing that we have to accept is that we have to be better than this. We have to improve ourselves. We have to have deeper insights about ourselves. We need something transformational. We need something that can transform our attitude and strategy. And in some sense, yes, this interview, this insight, this little helpless insight may help to transform our attitude. Because, wow, suddenly I have self-awareness. I have I'm loving and altruistic. I shouldn't let that be overrun by my instincts of competition and opportunistic behavior that can result in aggression to the world and hatred towards the world and things like that. Well, we all know that. Of course, this is a part of the human condition. It's a part of the human condition. Yes, I agree with that. But it doesn't change anything to bring that into consciousness, to bring that into ourselves as an insight, to integrate that as an insight. It doesn't change anything, and that's my whole point. My question to this World Transformation Movement group who believes in the fact that Jeremy Griffith can save the world, with this little helpless insight, my question is, how do you think that this is going to change anything? I mean, are you insane? How stupid is it possible to be? It doesn't change anything. Our problem is the brain. The problem is the brain in itself, the way that the brain works. The problem is the human program and the way that we believe in the things that we believe in. That's our problem. The problem is that the human mind and the human being is a donkey chasing a carrot. And that carrot is not only things that we want. It's not because we want something outside of us. It's also because we have a desire for existence in itself. We are struggling with the fact. We are struggling with existence because we both want it and we don't want it. We want freedom from consciousness, but we also want consciousness. That is an issue that we should get on the agenda. We both want existence in consciousness and we want to release ourselves from consciousness, because consciousness is a burden to us. And we know that. So, well, this is just a little talk, and I have allowed myself to be quite, yes, honest about it, because I think it's a good idea to be honest. And if people don't agree with what I'm saying, then so what? Let my little rant, or let my input be something that can bring further clarity to your own thinking. Then, well, I mean, why do they believe that this is transformational? I just don't understand it. It's wonderful that people are taking it and understanding that this is changing the world for the better. That's wonderful. But it actually cannot change. It cannot transform the human race. This knowledge cannot transform the human race. If this knowledge, if this insight could transform the human race, then we would have to go deeper. We would need more penetrating insights in how we relate to this duality. That's what we need to know. We need to know the machinery. How does the machinery work? We need to know how we relate to our experience of these phenomena that come to our consciousness through our instincts and through our neurologically downloaded biological, historical, learned behavior and thinking patterns. So I need you to be more clear, Jeremy Griffith. Be more clear. And clarity is the only indisputable proof of talent and quality in science and in research and in understanding and in insight. So get more clarity, be more clear, be more precise. Tell us what it is about your discovery that can be transformational. And if you don't explain the machinery of this and of how this is experienced within the human psyche, then I'm afraid it will not have any transformational effect. You have to go into the workshop, into the machinery, into the production plant, into the brain, into our own experience, and try to lay out how do we experience this dichotomy, so to speak, this duality, and how do we relate to this. I'm sorry, but this is not going to change anything. It's going to help some people to be more clever about who they are. They're going to be more enlightened. They're going to have more knowledge about themselves. They're going to understand the world a little bit better. But that's all, you know. True transformation is something that we have to achieve inside the workshop of our own being, you know. We have to see ourselves for that which it is. We have to really decipher it, deconstruct it, and analyze it, you know. Even that sometimes won't help, won't change anything, but at least it leads to more knowledge. But anyway, this was just a reaction to the wonderful attempt. I'm a world-saving project person myself, so I love things like this, and I applaud it from the deepest part of my heart, because I really love it. I love things and projects and people especially who wants to save the world, or who wants to contribute to the improvement of the global world society, who wants to contribute to the transformation of the human being. There's nothing that I love more than that. I adore that. That's the only noble thing to do. It's the only human thing to do. It's the only realistic thing to do. It's the only relevant thing to do. It's the only beautiful thing to do. It's the only worthy thing to do. It's the only dignified thing to do. It's the only noble and true and relevant and correct and right thing to do, really. So I love that. I love the approach. I love that very, very, very much. But it must be clearer bones in the structure. You have to deliver more penetrating insights if you truly, really want to change things. If you want to present something that truly and really can be transformational, then you have to show how things work. You have to educate and show people about how the machinery in themselves is actually working. Then we have a chance for transformation, because if not, we won't learn anything new that can actually change us, because we won't change unless we see completely clearly about why is it that my mental reality is produced in this way. That's when we start to learn. That's when we start to change. So it must be deeper, it must be more penetrating than this. I wish you the best of luck, and I hope that you can be able to be more penetrating and to be able to pull out some deeper insights of your possibility for being a true scientist, for being a true world helper. Because that's what we need. We don't need a new concept that you can just pick from a shelf in the supermarket. And to me, this is a product from a shelf in the supermarket. It's just a book, it's just a new poem, it's just a new song, it's just a new verse, it's just a new product, a new book, you know. It's not deconstructing something that can show us a new way of being, a new way of relating to the production of that which we are in any given moment. I mean, we need to see our own human program from the inside. That's what we need to see. We need to see our own human program from the inside. Then we can change. But to talk from the outside about a concept that has been understood 300 years ago is not enough, really. It's really, really, really not enough. And that's, I wanted just to say that, and I would be super happy if I'm wrong, if it turns out that there's more meat in this little burger than what I've understood. If there's more insight in this that I've understood, if there's more talent and insight and penetrating things that are truly paradigm shifting and transformational, I would be super happy. But I haven't seen that, so I'm letting myself present a little talk about it in this way. Anyway, thank you for listening, and thanks a lot for the initiative, and please keep going and go deeper and explore more and demystify things. Convey the inner workings of the human program, because that's how we truly can change and transform. Thank you. Best of luck.